That's what I want to go into. I owe it to myself to start my lectures off because I want to show you some things that we're missing in the religions, and one of it is the black woman is the key, both spiritual and physical. Now, I'm not just saying this to make it sound good. Somebody asked Dr. Ben about, he came about 2 years ago, about a year ago, and somebody asked him, well, how are we going to get out of this stuff? And he said, when you start treating the black woman right. And they said, okay, that sounds beautiful, it sounds good, but you didn't understand what he really meant by that. And what I want to say is, I want to give you the feminine principle of what the world is missing, and this is one of the keys that will shape our salvation, and this is one of the keys that's snuffed out. And we want to lift that veil right now. Constellation, I'll explain it when I put the other one. It's a constellation in the temple of Dendera in Hemmitt, or Egypt, if you don't know what Hemmitt is, or Egypt. In this constellation, it's showing you that Egypt was in fact heaven on earth. And it's actually showing you they got this constellation is in the ceiling. It's now hanging in the Paris museum called the Louvre in Paris. And what this circle represents is heaven. I want you to put the other one on because I want to show you certain things. Slide it over some. This circle represents heaven. I guess you better go back to the other one because, yeah, I'll put some on. And you can't see it, but I'm going to show you another picture of a great mother in a minute. In this circle is heaven, and in the center of this circle is supposed to be the creation story. And it's supposed to be the creator. And in the center is a hippopotamus god. It represents a feminine principle. Now we're talking about a spiritual element. Now we haven't gone to the physical manifestation. It's a hippopotamus god. It represents a pregnant woman because the hippopotamus has a big stomach and it has breast, and it goes in and out of the water. That represents the womb. They used to call that a water cow, and it represents the womb. Now, in here, she's given birth right here, and we'll explain it in a minute, to her son. Her son is called Sut or Set. Now, Sut or Set, we say Set is one word, S-E-T, S-U-T, Sut would be the proper word, S-E-T, Set, or Seth, S-E-T-H, or Set typhon. It depends on what era you're in, whether the word changed. Or later on, Satan, but we haven't gotten to that yet. We're in another era. Set is her first son, and he's given dominion over all of the heavens. You see, starting from here, this represents all of the heavens, which means all of the stars and all of the gods, the lines of divine. And even down to the gods that you worship today is in here. It's just the names are changed. You clear? So he's given dominion, or he rules the celestial pole. He's the firstborn of Akhet, Tot, earth. Earth means earth. You know, Mother Earth, this whole concept. And he's the first one. And we have that in the biblical story of, you have God, and you have the first angel, Lucifer, and he's over all of heaven, and one day God is away, he's there, and all of this. This is where it comes from. Now, what happened is, and then she's given birth to different elements all over. Now, what you have is, you have these women right here. These women represent Isis, and she's holding up the pillars of heaven. So not only is showing you that, hey, the creator is feminine, it's showing you the person that holds up the pillars of heaven is also God, which is represented in the great goddess. Okay?
God, she,
right. Right here, you have an ordinary woman. She's not a god, she's not a goddess. She's an ordinary woman, but she's an ordinary black woman in Kemet, or Egypt. So it's showing you, I mean, everything that they do is symbolic. Nothing is done without a reason. So common sense, if she's here with some significance. They don't decorate nothing. You know, that's the Greek way, and that's our way. Symbols without substance. Oh, that's the white man's way, since we live in this planet, and this is the time we own. Everything is done for a reason. She's an ordinary woman, and an ordinary woman of that day would probably, and this concept is thousands of years old, even before the white man comes on the planet. So what it's saying is, this is the spiritual manifestation of God. This is the physical manifestation of God, because it can create the same kind of universe right out of that womb. You understand? Now, she's got her son Set, and she's giving him dominion over everything. But one day, he gets jealous because the people, the world at that time, is still worshiping her. And he wants to be worshipped too. You see, but they're still worshiping him, her. And later on, he gets cast out. That's the same Lucifer story, how God gets cast out of heaven, how devil gets cast out of heaven. Later on, he gets cast out. Now, what we have here is, he later on comes in another fable or another mythological story, the Osirian drama, as the evil brother. As the evil brother. But at first, he was the male prototype of which all the other gods fashioned themselves after, including Osiris, Horus, and all. And we must know that these are two different stories, because in one story you have Horus, which is represented right here as the elder. And in another story you have Horus the baby. And you can't get the stories mixed up together, because we have a creation story, then we have a story, the Osirian drama, that lays down the principles for Kemet. You see. And then you have a rebirth of Horus, and you have Set being born again as an evil, but he's being born again. His mother is Nut and Gael, the goddess Nut and Gael, and they have the son Osiris and Isis, or Osar and Set, the African name, or Heru. Horus is Isis and Osiris' son, but they have Osar, Oset, and they have Sut, and they have Neptys, which is a Greek name also. Neptys is the sister, brother and sister of Osiris and Isis. So you got 4 people. Now, Sut, or Set, is representative of a single male deity. Even though he has a sister, in some kind of way his sister is unmanifest, so he doesn't have a spiritual half to balance him off. You understand? The spiritual half comes through the female principle. Now, get over this side. Now you have Set. So he's, in this tale, he is an evil god, a god of destruction and a god of evil. And I want to show another picture of the Great Mother before I go on to show you another picture of this hippopotamus god, of how it really looks. You see, she has she's holding the arm. She has the big stomach as a pregnant woman. You understand? These horns represent Hathor, because you know she's the prototype of all great mothers. And Isis is a great mother. Isis is a great mother. Hathor is a great mother. We have Segment, this is a great mother. And these great mothers have different principles, just as the male deities have different principles. But because Set doesn't have, because his sister Neptys is unmanifested, he doesn't have a sister, so he's imbalanced. He has an imbalance. He comes back later as a single male deity that represents the imbalance. Now, what happens to her? Because later on, the deities change into, not necessarily Egypt, because she was around also almost to the end. They recognized her. But what happened was, what happened later on, I'm talking about the Bible, and I'm talking about the Quran, I'm talking about the Torah. All of a sudden, in Genesis, we have the feminine principle being a great deceiver. You know, she gives, she tricks Adam, so-called, stupid story, tricks Adam into going into biting the apple and all this. She becomes a great deceiver, and as a result of them messing up and all this, they got to go and she has to bear children, And the childbirth is her punishment for doing this. And Adam is such a dumb fool, you know, all of a sudden. But, you know, the responsibility is off the man. You see how this thing becomes switched around all of a sudden? And anyway, this particular woman, the great mother, is seen in Revelation, between Genesis and Revelation, from Genesis to Revelation. The woman is seen not as a goddess anymore, not as a god, but as seen as a helper, a second-class citizen, a whore, and all of that. She becomes a whore. She becomes the abomination of the great mother. It's in chapter 17 of Revelation, verse 5 through 6 or 7. She becomes the great whore, the abomination. That's called a harlot. This is the prototype of the scarlet lady in red, and red represents the blood. You see. So now, let's just use common sense here. Everything that governs the universe, and even you go to the animals, everything that creates and everything that nourishes and takes care of is a feminine principle, or a feminine being. And all of a sudden, we got a literature, or scripts, or ancient documents, or new documents is in direct opposition from what it was in the beginning. And now you can understand how things happen and how we fail based upon that. I don't want to go too far in it, but I wanted to show you this because once I get back into what I'm getting into, this is going to come up again because this is real key. I want you to give me some other slides. Yeah, this is another different aspects of her, the great mother Apet. A-P-E-T, Apet, or Tat-Ert, great mother. This is another zodiac showing the crocodile figure was also seen as a great mother. And this is, you see the zodiac that you have today, this is certain different elements of the zodiac, and I don't have time to go into it and all, but it's showing you that the birth of the first Egyptian calendar comes from this great mother scene and this creation scene. Is totally different now. It's known as the Great Bear in Greek now. That you see that you have the Greek calendar. It started by Julius Caesar and all. The first constellation that I showed you comes from this temple. And this temple is called the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, and it's called the Temple of the Virgin Birth. And that round circle that I first showed you is up in the top of this. But you know, the beast, the white man, went in the 19th century, 1800s, and blew this down. Blew it down, didn't touch it, he blew it down and took it to France, and it's in the Louvre in Paris now. Then he took another plaster cast and put up in the top of that. You can go to Paris now, I think you can see it, I'm not sure. Because Charles French said he saw it last summer, 2 summers ago when he went. Dr. Charles French is over at the Morehouse Medical School. Now I hit on him in a few.